Have you been wanting to learn how to can? Well, today I'm going to show you a very easy way to get started water bathing tomatoes.
This smells so good. It reminds me of canning with my grandma.
Hi guys, welcome back to the mini farm. So today I'm going to answer one of your biggest questions, and that's, where do I start if I want to can? Today I'm going to show you how to water bath tomatoes. It's the easiest way to start if you're a newbie, and you really don't need that much equipment. You're going to need a pot that has some kind of riser inside of it.
It should be big enough to have the riser in the bottom and cover the jars with at least 1 inch of boiling water.
We're just going to use my normal stock pot today. You'll also need the jars, rings. The rings don't have to be new. Flats. The flats do have to be new. A funnel, something to pick up the jars, a ladle, citric acid, and some tomatoes. And you're going to need some way to crush your tomato. If you don't have a blender like this or a food processor, you can cut them up into quarters, put them in your pot, cook them down a little bit, then mash them, and then you can just use that as crushed tomatoes that way. But I find this method to be easiest, so if you do happen to have the equipment, then go ahead and use it because it's going to make your day a lot easier. Some people like to strain out the seeds and the skins of the tomatoes. For that, you're going to need a strainer. You put the tomatoes in here after you've stewed them a little bit. You roll this thing around. It lets all the good juices and the good pulp come out of the tomato into your sauce, and it keeps the skins and the seeds inside this container. I don't mind them in my sauce, so that's why I'm not going to do it today. I'm going to save myself some steps. I'm going to go ahead and cut up the tomatoes, throw them in the food processor, and then put them in the pot and heat them up. Use a cutting board for this. I've been doing this for a long time, so I can do this by hand. I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. I used every last bit of the capacity on this puppy, so hopefully we don't make a mess when we pour it in. I'm going to use the same pot that I'm going to water bath in, but I do not have the riser in there. And while it does that, I'm going to go ahead and run my jars under hot water, so when I fill them, the temperature difference between the hot tomatoes and the jar being cool won't crack the jar. My tomatoes have been boiling for about 5 minutes now. I'm going to take the ladle. You want to fill it up to where it's 1 inch below the rim. Usually where your canning funnel stops, that's your stop line. A little bit more for this one. Perfect. So I have my pot filling up with hot water. I'm going to take some citric acid just to bring up the acidity a little bit and make sure that it's acidic enough to water bath, because some tomatoes are just not acidic enough. I'm going to put 1/4 of a teaspoon in each jar. Stir them in really good. I'm going to wipe off the rim of the jar. Some people like to use white distilled vinegar to wipe off the rims. I just use water. Just make sure that there's no particles on there. Then take your flats, put them on top, make sure that they're lined up, and put the rim on finger tight. These jars are hot, so if you have a towel that you can hold with, or maybe a little oven mitt or something, it would be easier to handle them. I'm going to put this in there. Use my handy jar grabber and start putting them in the pot. Make sure you leave room for the water to rise as you're putting your jars in there. You definitely need that 1 inch on top of it to boil. I'm going to clean up and wait for this to come to a roaring boil. Then we're gonna start our timer for 35 minutes. After the full 35 minutes of a roaring boil, we can turn off the water, take the jars off, put them on a towel, and they'll be ready to go. And our 35 minutes is up, so it's time to take these guys out. I'm gonna turn off the heat. Now be careful because they are very hot, so use your jar lifter. Tilt them just a little bit to get all the water off the lid, and put them on your towel. Now if you listen closely, you're going to hear some of them ping, so let's see if we can hear that beautiful sound. Oop, there goes one. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and hit the little subscribe button below. Thanks for watching. When I was little, my grandma, she would be dicing up her tomatoes or snapping her green beans. She would do it at the kitchen table because she couldn't stand for long periods of time. So every time I prep my veggies, I think of her. Because this is exactly how she used to do it. Just a paring knife and a bowl.